Hi, Eric. I wanted to be able to talk with you about your paper a little bit before tomorrow. Scamming over this, it looks like you've done a lot of work already, which is wonderful. The problem is, I'm not sure that much of the work you've done actually fills out the promise of your introductory paragraph. So let's look at this. Partway down, you say, um, this essay will focus on, whoops, this essay will focus on America and how they influenced the war. Okay, actually, that's a really interesting essay topic, potentially, not just talking about World War I, not just talking about America, but then how America's involvement influenced the war. Um, Influence suggests you're going to discuss something with me other than the fact that the Allies won the war as a consequence of America's entrance, which is usually what's discussed. Second, America only joined the war at the tail end, the final 10 months of it. So when you say how America influenced it, I actually think you're really playing to this because the war had established itself, it had a certain personality, and then America joins it. So there is a clear before and after that you could use to discuss things here. Through the first body paragraph, you start to discuss the history of the war itself, where it came from. I think that's very appropriate, providing background to your reader. That section, however, you have is one giant paragraph, and that very much needs to be broken up. I understand that when we talk about paragraphs, every paragraph is a topic, but in this case, when you're writing such a large paper, every section is not the same thing as a topic. If you're going to discuss with me the causes of World War One, well, there are traditionally five causes of World War One. Each one you could skim through in a paragraph. That would be far more appropriate than what you're offering right here. Anyway, so as we get down to your second body paragraph, America would not join the conflict immediately. That's true. Again, discussing why the United States does not join the conflict immediately, but then changes its mind and then chooses to join it, I think is very appropriate. But what I would like you to do right here is instead of just giving me a dry history of America didn't want to, and then the Germans blew up the Lusitania, and they sent the Zimmerman telegram, and then all of a sudden we wanted to, I'd really like you to make this more personal. Discuss some sort of, offer something personal here. Give me a diary, give me a soldier's account, give me a politician's account. Why did Woodrow Wilson change his mind? Find some way to make this real so that the reader cares. Now, as we jump down into this, the war caused a lot of change for U.S. women. Where did this come from? And second, how is this applicable to what you were meant to what you were going to discuss? You're right. The war does cause a lot of change, and especially for women who end up having to go into the workplace. You're not wrong about that. But your question wasn't, or your statement was not, how is the war going to affect America, but how is America going to influence the war? So it seems like you're actually moving in reverse from what you had originally intended here. And then you talk about American soldiers landing. Great. But so what? How do they then affect what's going on? How do they change the war from what it was to something that it became, whatever it is you think that is? And then here we jump into the end. So the statement that I made a moment ago, where I feel like you're working reverse, talking about how the war affected the United States rather than how the United States affected the war, is something that you need to consider when looking at this paper. Again, I think the topic is very appropriate. I just think that you need to stick with what you promised in the introduction and actually talk about how America changed World War One, its fighting, its diplomacy, its style, its framing in some way. I'm not sure exactly how to put this from one thing to another. All right, Eric, think about that, and tomorrow we'll have a discussion.